Alright, today we're going to talk about protists and fungi, our last two kingdoms, and what their role is in nature and how they can impact and cause disease. Remember, another word for the protist is the odds and ends kingdom. They got a lot of variety, it can go either way. Many are single-celled, but there are multicellular protists, such as the giant kelp in the ocean and some red algae that's found in the ocean. There are some fungus-like molds that can grow to be very large, so they can be multicellular. They all have a nucleus. They have a lot of complex organelles. They carry out each of their organelles has specific function. But they can be divided into three categories because many, like the paramecium and the amoeba, are more animal-like. They're heterotrophic. They're able to move freely. Some are plant-like, like your algae and your euglena, in that they have chloroplast and they carry out photosynthesis. And then you have some that are fungus-like, in that they desire to be in a wet, damp, moist space. They are going to secrete enzymes to digest their food, and they're going to reproduce more like a fungus. So, your animal-like protists often are called your protozoans. They're going to take in food, they're going to digest it, they're going to have a food vacuole as their digestive organelle. And we watched the video for active transport and endocytosis, where this amoeba takes its pseudopod and reshapes itself and traps the paramecium, and then creates that food vacuole and begins to digest it immediately. Most of your animal-like protists are much larger than your bacteria. Many move with cilia, which are like little oars that the paramecium has. The amoeba uses that pseudopod where it can create a foot to just kind of pull the water and row. You also have protozoans that have flagellum, and they use this whip-like motion with this long tail to move. Many of these actually are parasitic or mutualistic, in that they have some type of symbiotic relationship. Giardia is one of those. It is found in water, freshwater streams, lakes, and rivers. And if you drink water that contains the Giardia protozoan, it literally will make its home in your large intestine, where it will feed and reproduce. Termites are a animal-like protozoan, and they live in there is a protozoan that lives in the termite, and it helps the termite digest its wood that it lives in. So the termite is parasitic, but the protozoan that lives in the intestine of the termite is mutually beneficial to the termite, in that it gets food and it helps the termite digest what it's eating. So they can have some mutual beneficially relationships. Malaria is an animal-like protist called a plasmodium, and obviously it lives in the saliva of mosquitoes, and when the mosquito bites you, it spits it into your bloodstream, and it causes many health problems around the world. Now, your plant-like protists, they're often called your algae. Many people think they're the green slime that's on ponds. And those are large colonies of algae. They are autotrophic, in that they need sunlight to carry out photosynthesis. Some are unicellular, some are multicellular. They have a wide variety of colors because they have different pigments besides chlorophyll. So you'll see green, yellow, red, brown, orange, and even black algae. Your fungus-like protists are heterotrophic. They have a cell wall. They use spores to reproduce like a fungi does. Some are brightly colored like your slime molds, and if you look on page 476, you can see some of these. You have some downy mildews that grow on leaves of different plants. You have water molds that help us decompose when fish die and other aquatic life dies. You need some decomposers. And so they serve lots of different roles. Some are helpful, and the decomposers are, but then they also attack many food crops like potatoes, corns, and grapes. A water mold impacted history in 1845 and 1846 when it destroyed the potato crops in Ireland, led to famine, and 1 million people died as a result of the loss of crop in the famine, and many Irish folks immigrated to the United States in the mid-1840s and other countries to escape starvation. So molds can serve different roles. Now, we're going to watch a little video here. I'm also going to give you some diagrams of these protists and their key characteristics for you to put in your notes, along with your notes, so you can study and you can have some visuals. And as soon as the protist video is over, we're going to finish with our fungi. Now, fungi are eukaryotic. They have cell walls and heterotrophs. Sound familiar? We just wrote that down with the fungus-like protists. They're multicellular. Family members, like the mushroom, are going to have a cap. They're going to have a gill under the cap, which are like rib-like structures. They have a stalk, and they have this intricate work of branching tubes that go all down the stalk underground and connect them to many other mushrooms that are growing. You usually see, when the mushrooms are above ground, you see them as clusters. And this hyphae is a way that the mushroom and the fungus is able to eat. If you think of these tubes kind of like a straw, the hyphae will take in the nutrients from the soil, and then the mushroom excretes some digestive enzymes and break down the food, and the mushroom is then able to use it for its source of energy. So some fungi feed on dead organisms, some that are found dead, decaying in the soils. Others are parasitic. Some grow on trees and dead, decaying wood, so they are able to get their food source by secreting these enzymes to break down the dead, decaying matter, and then able to absorb it or suck it up through their hyphae. Now, fungi can reproduce both asexually and sexually. Their spores are reproduced in something called their fruiting bodies. And remember, spores are where you kind of store your genetic material, if you think about bacteria that live in extreme conditions. And then when the time is right, those spores are released. Many times they're carried through the water or the air. When mushrooms will bloom up and you go stomp on one and you see that kind of cloud come out, you are releasing its spores. They're going to travel on the air. They're going to land somewhere else. And the next time that soil is very damp, they will sprout up. Now, fungi are classified by how they reproduce. And if you look on page 481, you can see the three classifications: the club fungi, the sac fungi, and the zygote fungi. In nature, fungi serve the role, again, of decomposing, and their ability to decompose plant and animal matter through their secreting these digestive enzymes is a positive for nature. They are also important in food production. Yeast is a type of fungi that causes bread to rise. If you like blue cheese, that's a mold that gives it its blue color and its taste. We get medicine, penicillin, which is an antibiotic, and now we have a lot of synthetic antibiotics that are derivatives of penicillin, but those are based on mold. And then lichens are a fungi and an algae that live mutualistically. And if you look out the window, those little gray lacy patches that are growing on the trees, those are lichens. Now, there are fungi that cause disease. They're parasitic. They can cause diseases in plants, like Dutch elm disease, which has pretty much wiped out the elm tree in North America and Europe. Corn smut, wheat rust, or club fungi that have caused disease in food crops. There are other funguses that have caused diseases in rice, cotton, and soybeans, and farmers battle this all the time. And then in humans, athlete's foot, ringworm, are fungal diseases. They're treated with antifungal medications. There are some funguses that in those spores are airborne and you can inhale them, and they can cause respiratory diseases as well. Now, fungi can tell you a lot about the health of an area because they're very sensitive to air pollution. So if the lichens that are growing on the tree outside my window begin to shrivel up and die, that's tell me that there is something going on in this community and might indicate that our air quality is very unhealthy. The plant roots can grow into the hyphae, that intricate network of tubes underground from fungi, and that can help the plants get nutrients and water through the hyphae. So they have many roles, positive and negative. And we have a clip here to look at some of the variety of fungi that we find, because remember they can be multicellular and single cellular and have lots of different looks.